Welcome back to another episode of Cleats Off the Couch, final team of the first 8, one from every division. We're going to be talking about the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the NFC West, like the AFC West, going to be a pretty solid group, but the difference, the AFC West, all 4 will be competitive, whereas in the NFC West, the Seahawks will not. Last year, the Seahawks went 7-10. 7-10. And I've been making statements in different TikTok lives and different conversations with people about this. I think the Seahawks are going to take a step further back. I think they're going to lose even more games this year. Not a ton, but they're going to lose a couple more games. And I actually, you guys ready for this? I know this is like not even a minute into this episode, but my prediction, it's kind of a hot take prediction of like, ooh, could this happen? The Seahawks lose another game or two. Well, I will go through the schedule and we'll see what it looks like, win-loss and such. Does Pete Carroll retire at the end of the 2022 season? I don't think fired, but does he retire? Just a thought. Because believe it or not, I don't know where you stand listening to this. I do not see the Seahawks improving. I don't think the only thing I think they made out with from that trade with Russell Wilson was first round picks for the which is for the future, and Noah Fant. I think that was a great. I think that was a loss for Denver, a win for Seattle. Overall, I'd have to go back in and look at what the whole trade piece was with that. But as of right now, looking at who they have, I mean, one of the biggest conversation pieces. I, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, same topic of conversation, except I think both options are at a higher quality than what Seahawks have, and that is the quarterback position. You're looking between Drew Lock and Geno Smith. We'll see what things will look like, but you still got pretty solid receiving end. I mean, DK, Lockett, and now, like I said, Noah Fant. If they can stay healthy, I think they'll have options there with Chris Carson, Rashad Penny. I don't remember who else they have after that. They got the young quarterback right in the draft, Jacob Eason. And so I think on offense, there's a couple pieces there. Offensive line-wise, defense-wise, I mean, cut Bobby. And guys, I don't know. I don't know that their defense is really going to be anything. I really don't. And I don't know where the Seahawks ended in 2021. Let's look real quick for their offense and defense is what I'm looking at. I want to see where they ended, but I feel like their defense couldn't have been that good. Wow. This thing that I was just looking at has the Steelers defense as the 20th defense. What? We're not here to talk about the Steelers, but that's complete malarkey. That is complete malarkey. Goodness gracious. Anyway, team statistics. Let's look. I just want to look at what the ratings were. Like, what was the ranking is what I want to look at. Ranked defenses 2021. We'll just see what comes up with that. Obviously, the Bills had the top defense. Here we go. Statistics. The Seahawks, well, it's showing the Seahawks had the 12th. Wow, 12th best defense. Okay. Now they lost Bobby, and I'm not sure who else they lost, but there's just nothing about that in that division. There's nothing about their defense that makes me think that things are going to do well this year for the Seahawks. And then if I were to go to the team offense, we're looking at, and this was with Russell Wilson. It had the Seahawks at tied for 10th. Interesting. Tied for 10th. I'm curious what that's based out of. Again, they're going to be without Russell Wilson, and they were 31st and 28th in pass attempts and pass completions with Russell Wilson. I think a lot of that comes back to how Pete Carroll tries to run the offense. I'm a believer. From what I've seen, I really have felt that Russell Wilson has been hindered because of Pete Carroll as his coach. A lot of the time, Pete Carroll, now obviously when they had Marshawn Lynch and stuff, it made sense to hand the dang ball off. Just hand it off. in the Super Bowl, hand it off anyway. And then he towards the end of games, he's in situations he would let Russ cook and Russ would cook, and you would have that. You would have some different situations come out on that end. But I think overall they're going to be a middling team this year. And just let's look at the schedule that they have, because I think that'll be a decider. I've looked through this a couple times, and so I think this will be a decider affecting things when it comes to even being a middling team. They're on the bottom side of win totals this year. They're going to start off the year against the Denver Broncos, the team just did the trade with. And guys, I think Russell Wilson gets the returns to Lumen. No, Lumen is their home field in it's Lumen at Mile High, right? Anyway, I don't know why I thought that was the name of the Seahawks stadium. Anyway, oh my goodness, Denver. Here I am sitting here just like, no, Denver's Mile High. What? Lumen? What? What's going on? That's Seattle's home field. Huda. So we got the Denver Broncos coming to Seattle. I see Russell Wilson and that Denver Broncos team winning that game, getting the revenge game against Pete Carroll and the Seahawks, starting out the Seahawks grind of a season, going 0-1, and then the Seahawks travel to San Francisco. The 49ers, if led, I keep saying this a lot, last night had a discussion on TikTok Live about the projected playoffs. If the San Francisco 49ers stay healthy and are led by Jimmy G, I have them as a runner, as a team that can run and make the Super Bowl, if not even potentially win the Super Bowl. I really do think so. But if they get rid of Jimmy G, I think Trey Lance is inexperienced. And I just question, if he is the starter, why have they not pushed harder for him to be the starter? Something doesn't sit right there for me. Anyway, not talking San Fran, but in this case, San Fran gets the win. Defense and offense in San Fran looking to be, top 10, if not even top 5. It's gonna be a good team. So starting out 0-2, not a great look for the Seahawks. The Seahawks then are at home against Atlanta. I think they get the win against Atlanta. That'll be a good fight between the two of them. Atlanta will surprise in some games this year. Seahawks will still do what a low-end NFL teams do, and they'll surprise in some games as well. But Seahawks will get the win over Atlanta, going to 1-2, and then they will travel to Ford Field against Detroit. Detroit, guys, a team I keep saying I'm excited about, and we'll see within the first couple weeks if it's just kind of a Dan Campbell excitement kind of experience, or if it's a literal, like, Detroit is for real, and we're going to start to see some things turn around there. So I have Detroit winning in Detroit against the Seahawks, putting them at 1-3, and then the Seahawks travel to the Saints. And I think the Saints are kind of underappreciated this year, but I do still see them struggling at different times against teams like the Seahawks, or if they were to play a team like Detroit, or when they play Atlanta. When they play, now that's a division ball game, so it's a little bit more difficult to talk about that, because that's completely different, But the Saints, I think, will be underappreciated, will do a little bit better even than I think I have been saying, with that defense and some tools that they definitely have on offense. The question is, will Jameis play like he was before injury last year? Will he play like old Jameis? I don't know. It's yet to be seen. So in this case, though, I think Seahawks could travel into New Orleans, get a win on the road. I'm going to give that to them here, putting them at 2-3. And then they're going to travel back home. Arizona comes into town. I'm giving the win early in the first half of the year. Arizona's a good team in the first half of the year. Arizona's going to win, even in Seattle. Division rivalry, I know. Giving the win to Arizona, though, 2-4. And then they're going to travel to SoFi Stadium in LA against the Chargers. The Chargers are another team this year that I think are looking sneaky good. And is it sneaky good? I think a lot of people are thinking they're going to do well. It's just nobody's talking about people like Herbert and stuff, and just the amazing first 2 seasons that the kid has had. And that team as a whole, defensively, they look like studs this year. Everything they've added on with J.C. Jackson's, you've got Derwin James still over the top. You've got Bosa. You've got so many different pieces there. It's insane. So Chargers are gonna win in their home, and so that takes the Seahawks to 2-5, and then they're gonna travel home and play the Giants. Giants are losing that game in Lumen, and that puts the Seahawks at 3-5. And then they're going to travel to Arizona right in that midpoint of the season. Do I think that Seattle and Arizona split? Potentially. Division games, as we all know, are a whole different ball game. I don't know the history between the Seahawks and the Cardinals, because I know some teams, like I had mentioned about like the Falcons and the Saints. The Saints and the Buccaneers, even when one team is definitely better, they're just constantly, all of a sudden, it's a dogfight. I don't know why. It just is. Let me see here. You've got, yeah, a loss, a win, a loss, a win in overtime, a win, a loss, a loss, a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a tied, a loss, a win, a loss, a loss, a win, a loss, a loss. Yeah, so it just keeps going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, it would seem. And so even in like this past year, we saw the Seahawks beat the Cardinals 38-30, and then we saw the Cardinals beat the Seahawks in November. So it was a 1-1 split. And then in 2020, again, 1-1 split. Seattle won 34. Oh no, Arizona won in overtime 37-34, and that lost 28-21. And then in 2019, do we see a split? Yes, we do. Arizona 27-13, Seahawks 27-10. So I'm giving a split. I'm following the history, giving the split to the this win is going to go to the Seahawks. And again, it's entering into that back half. Usually the first half of the season, Arizona 8-1 team, 7-1 team, something like that, and then they start to crash and burn the second half, like the past 2 or 3 seasons. Arizona loses this one to Seattle with the split, putting them at 3-4, 4-5, and then they're going to travel to Tampa Bay, and that one is going to be, I believe that's the game. Where's that one at? That one's in a different spot. Is that one overseas? Because it's not at Raymond James. Yeah, that's a game in Munich. That's a game in Munich. I think Seahawks will travel. They have to travel all the way from Seattle all the way to Munich. Tampa Bay only has to go from Tampa to Munich. So that will create a little bit of a situation there. Whenever you're traveling from West Coast all the way across to East Coast, let alone all the way over to Germany, that's going to be a different situation. But I think Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, man, I mean, they're top in the NFC. The Seahawks lose to them, going to, what does that make them? 4-6. We're going 4-6 into the bye week in week 11. Pretty good placement for a bye week. And then they come out and play the Las Vegas Raiders. I see a loss to the Raiders. The Raiders are going to be traveling, but the AFC West, man, looks really good this year. And I'd be curious to see, what is Las Vegas on the road? Let's see what they are. Oh no, well, everybody's like, oh, you mean travel destinations? No, Las Vegas Raiders on the road. They let's see here, looking at 2021. The Raiders on the road last year were 5-3. And so I don't think on the road is too much of a hassle. Traveling out to the West Coast, they traveled to Los Angeles and played the Chargers last year and lost that game. I think the Chargers are at a completely different competitive level than the Seahawks, and of course they're within division. And then obviously Denver, they didn't play any of the teams in the NFC West last year away. They may have played one at home, but I think this year Las Vegas travels to Seattle and gets the win. So Seattle comes out of the bye week with a loss there, going to 4-7, and then they will travel to the Rams, in which I think the Rams will sweep the Seahawks, going 4-8. and then they will play the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, I think the Carolina Panthers are a different team now with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Obviously, they're going to make Baker and Sam Darnold fight to see who's the starting quarterback, but I think Baker wins that out. I do think Carolina has the potential to come into Lumen and get a win. After a 3-game losing streak by the Seahawks, though, at home, I see them beating Carolina, going to 5 wins, making that, 5-8? Is that where we're at now? 5-9? And then they will play San Fran at home. I expect a team like San Fran with the roster that they have, again, if led by Jimmy G and with the current roster healthy, I expect a sweep. But being division play and the potential of injuries, which has happened a lot with San Fran over the past couple of years, and the potential that Trey Lance is the quarterback and Jimmy G's out, I could see a split with Seattle, a fight there. I don't see a sweep happening over Seattle by both the Rams and the Niners. There is going to be a win in there somewhere for the Seahawks. So I'm going to give a win at home over San Fran week 15, giving them 6 wins, and then they're going to travel to Kansas City. They're going to get back to the loss category, staying with 6 wins, and then they're going to play the Jets at home. The Jets, exciting team this year. Before I talk more about the Jets, week 18 against the Rams, I do think the Rams or the Niners sweep the Seahawks. I gave a split to the Niners. I'm going to give a sweep to the Rams. So that means they're going to have a loss there, which means we're at 6 wins, and then we talk about the Jets. The Jets, guys, I'm excited to watch them play. I'm real excited to watch them play. And I do think they have the team that can go to places like the West Coast from the East Coast and have some exciting football. I'm giving the win to the Jets over the Seahawks. The Jets, offensively, defensively, like I said, I'm just excited. There's sometimes you got to trust your gut. I may not be able to put into words, but the offense that they have around them, I think Zach Wilson will continue to improve, and the defense will step up even more this year. They had arguably, in my opinion, they had the best draft. The Ravens were second. So I just see the Jets getting a win week 17, another fun one, but that means that the final win of the year would come potentially against San Francisco as the division rival. And in that one, I will say, I think there's a potential that week 18, if the Rams have already solidified number 1 seed in the NFC, I don't think they will. I think they're going to be fighting with the Buccaneers, potentially even with the Rams if healthy, in their own division. Maybe even the Packers. So there's a lot of opportunity there. I think those are mainly the 3 teams that they could be fighting against at that point. But if they do have first week bye, or it's very clear that they're not going to get the first week bye, but they've already secured like 2nd seed, they're not fighting against the Niners, I could see them sitting some players in week 18 and the Seahawks getting a win. I could see that. But that's why we have a win swing. My wins right now, this comes out to 6-11. Guys, that puts our win swing at 5-7 wins. That matches the expectation that I gave in conversations on Tuesday nights with TikTok Live over at Delkery, if you want to be a part of those conversations. But the Seahawks, 5-7 wins. Do you guys agree? Disagree? I'm really curious to see. They had 7 wins last year. Do they get 6 this year? Do they get 5 only? Or do they surprise and get upwards of 8 even? Not sure. I got 6, 5-7 win swing. We'll see as we move in. Let me know your guys' thoughts. And guys, that finishes 1 team from every division, which means we're going to start again with more teams as we keep running through the predictions for the 2022 season. I'm excited to keep going and to see where things come out. And therefore, conversation begins for what we think playoffs will even look like. Playoffs in 2022. So until then, I hope you guys have a good one, and I will see you in the next one.